I'm the map, 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 I'm the map!
Hiya, welcome back to the channel. We have today in this box something very exciting. Now recently we've done epic massive performance modifications, and now this is another one. I've had this for months, to be honest with you, and I should have opened it months ago, but I haven't done. So now this is the first time of opening the box. Now this is, God, get off your shitter. As you can see, I'm using the correct tool for the job. You'd expect nothing else from me on this channel. I'm going to stab myself with a screwdriver. So that should open. That opens, and in here we have, yes, we've got an ECU, a key, and the box for the immobiliser. And this came off a car that was obviously remapped, otherwise I won't be changing it, would I? I don't know if anyone's seen it. Well, everyone's probably seen this car actually. It was quite a well-known car on the groups, and it was Kiefer's 107, 107 on Instagram, and it was quite a cool car, but it got squashed by another car, and this is the brain of it to go into my car. So let's open it and have a look, and there we can see that's an ECU. On the car that this came off, I think it made about 85 on the dyno, and it's got some sick pop and bang shit going on too. And hopefully that's what mine will make something similar. Now the car it came off had pretty much the same mods as this, apart from it didn't have the Yaris injectors. So the Yaris injectors might have to come out, but we'll wait and see. The other thing that I'm hoping for is this fucker here. This is under the dash somewhere. Now I've taken the dash off before. It's not the end of the world, but if I can avoid it, I don't want to take it off again. So I'm not sure 100% how this works. If that transponder chip obviously is coded to the ECU to make it start, is it coded to this, or is this just a link to link them together? Are they all coded together, or do I just need to put the ECU and use the transponder chip out the key, and then that's not actually coded and it's just a link? I'm not sure, but I'm sure we're going to find out when nothing works. So before I do anything else, let's go and get some baseline figures on accelerations and power. I'm not going to a dyno, so not power. I just guessed that. And then we've got something to compare to, and we'll see how much difference it actually makes. And we're going to answer the question that is often asked on well, a few places, but one of the places being the groups for these cars. Are they worth remapping? So hopefully I will have an answer to that question by the end of this video. Hopefully, but probably not. And the fuel light had also just come on, so I've just gone and put a couple of gallon of V-power in to try and compare as well, MPG wise. Now since I put these injectors in, I usually get about sort of about 37, something like that. When I work it out, same journeys all the time. I just use this car for working really. Now I always do use V-power. As I've shown in other videos, I prefer it. Now when I use this ECU, I'll have to use V-power, because there's ways you can make a naturally aspirated petrol faster by tuning, and one of them is add a bit more fuel, like the injectors are doing anyway, because although I see this argument a few times as well, the correct volume or ratio is 14.7 to 1, yet that's the most efficient ratio, but sometimes a car will run a little bit more rich when it's wanting to produce power, as low as 12 to 1, to be honest with you. And the other way is advance the timing. So because now this ECU is going to be advancing the timing, well, I'm assuming it's going to be advancing the timing, because that's one of the main things you do when remapping a natural aspirated petrol. I will need to use higher octane fuel to not cause detonation. Anyway, I've put a couple of gallon in, so I will see, hopefully, I'll be able to tell if it is much different or any different on fuel as well. Because I've just paid like 205p a litre or something. So this is the perfect time to ruin what is the best thing about these cars, which is the economy of them, and throw that out the window to make it not fast, but faster. So let's see how we get on. And that was a quick, it wasn't a quick, but it was a short, it wasn't short, was it? It was a long acceleration video of second gear and going into third. And it was slightly uphill, and I'll go to exactly the same place to compare it. But another thing that's worth comparing is when I've had cars mapped in the past, it does tend to make them sound different and sound better, more aggressive. So let's do a comparison with this, and I'm not just talking about, I mean, this is a poi map, so it's like a poi overrun shitter that's on this ECU, but just revving it, let's do a comparison. So this is how it sounds now. And let's see how it sounds afterwards as well. And now I believe it is time to actually change the ECU. So first we need to locate it. So this is a part of the video on how to do that, as I figure it out myself, because as I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to get away with not having to take the dash top off, but I'm going to try it anyway. Now, the ECU is there behind the battery, and it's held on with 4 10mm bolts all the way around it, down there, and then there's a plug on it which unplugs. So firstly, I should disconnect the battery, but if I do that, this radio I've got in is a bitch to set everything up on, so I'm going to try and avoid that. You really should do, but fuck that. So I'm just going to do it. So let's see what happens. Well, as you can see, that isn't quite going to plan, and it looks like I'm going to have to disconnect the battery because my arms are too fat and not bendy enough to reach. So before I disconnect the battery, I'll just make a note of that number there for our fuel consumption later on. Because when I disconnect this B82 res, it might forget that number. So I might have to add it on to see what MPGs we get. And now that's removed, which I've shown before in a previous video, so I'm not really showing it. Set this off, which I've also shown before in a previous video. But I might as well show it. So there's that bolt, and then there's another one there. I don't know if you can see very well, but there is a bolt there, let's check out. And then there's just like a clip there, which releases, and that comes out the way enough to get to this. So I'm going to undo them 4 bolts around that. So 1, 2, 3, yum. And now the ECU is well, loose. I need to unplug it, and on both ends of it we have these, which I don't know if you can see, but that pulls out and that comes off, and then I won't be able to film it, but the same for the other side. Voila! So that's my old ECU removed. Well, I've had a look at the plugs to make sure that they're the same. We can fit the new one, which is a reversal of what we have just done. So this plug, when we put it in, try and show this, which is not going well, it just seems to be dropping everything, but that pushes like that, and then when it lines up you push that, and the plug actually pulls itself in as you push that in, because it's got slots to sort of lever it into place. So I'm going to put a bolt in that, and I'm going to see what happens. So there it is in place, and for the moment I've just put 1 bolt in it, and that is just there mainly in case the ECU uses an earth to the outer, you know, as a ground. So I'm going to throw the battery back on and see if I can get it running without changing that box under the dash. So that's this is just thrown on, and let's see what happens. So this is just the ECU with my original key, and this isn't going to start. This is going to do the same thing as when I changed the key fob on the other car. It's just going to turn over, I think. Yes. Well, it gets further than I thought it would. And starter motor's fucking me about. Now this starter motor, when I fixed it, was actually perfect until I made that video on how to drive without using the clutch. And then I think I burnt it out a bit. Right, so that's not working, but if I take this key, this other key with the transponder chip, and stick it next to the aerial, let's see what happens then. And with the key that matches the ECU, yes, exactly the same. So unfortunately, it does appear that I might have to take the top of the dash off to fit this box, and then hope that that works. So dash top. Now I took this off in another video when I flocked it, so I'm not going to bother showing that. I'm just going to take it off because otherwise this video is going to be far too long and boring. So I'm going to throw that off, and then I will see where we're at then, really. And something proper sick has just happened. 10mm socket's fucked off somewhere down there. So yes, and roughly that many screws and shit later, this should be ready to lift up. And if you haven't got one of them, it should just lift off completely, but I'm just going to cock mine over to the side. And this is where the plan falls to bits, because what I'm looking for is that immobiliser box, which doesn't exist on my car. I've got the other immobiliser box, which, well, it's not an immobiliser box, it just takes the signal from the key. But this seems to be the plug there. The plug exists and it plugs in, but no matter what I do, it doesn't seem to work. It just does the same thing. It sort of cuts out, starts up and cuts out immediately. So I put it all back together. Original ECU back on, which works, and we are back at square -1. Apart from me, clock's probably wrong and everything else, and all my settings are wrong on my radio because I've had the battery off. So that's the worst off than when I started, and the car's no faster. So that's gone to plan. That's excellent. Where I'm at with it now, so as far as the remap goes, I haven't give up on it. I'm going to do it one way or another. Now, whether I just get my ECU remapped, or I've spoke to the person who mapped this ECU, who said something about, see, this isn't my subject at all. Computers and ECUs and stuff and coding and crap like that is not something I have any sort of patience for. Now, I spoke to the guy who, like I said, did the remap, and he said, he's actually quite local, he's in Trafford Park, and he said that if I take both ECUs to him, he can swap the map over to my ECU or clone one to the other or some shit. And it'll probably cost about the same as I can get a cheap generic map for. Now, the map on this has got a poi on overrun, which I'm not really that bothered about. I didn't really want that. I didn't not want it, but it was just like a bit of a laugh. I'm not really bothered about it. So I'm not sure what to do yet. The guy I actually bought the ECU off has been sound. He's offered me some money back, but I'm not expecting any money back off him. I bought this months and months ago, and I've only come to use it now. So buying something secondhand 3 or 4 months later, I'm not going to expect, you know, the person I bought it off to give me a refund, because I've not done the right research when I bought it. So that's what I'm up to now. Put these back in the box. I don't know, like I said, if anyone, well, I'll see if I use it first. I might still use it. I might get it cloned or whatever. Don't know yet. But you'll find out shortly, because by the time I've made this video and uploaded it, I will know. Right, so now, a few days have passed since I filmed the last section of this video, which was a few seconds ago in video terms, and a few things have happened and not anything good so far. I am now taking the ECU off again, which you can do with leaving everything in. I mean, you should disconnect the battery, but fucking hell, it took me about 3 days to set the stereo up after doing it last time. But I managed to get to it. What I'm going to do is I'll explain what actually happened. I thought, right, I'll get it, instead of getting this ECU to work, I will just get mine mapped, because the reason why the ECU won't work is the bits that I've been sent, the black box that I've been sent with it, which I haven't got on me now, is for, the reason why my car didn't have it, and it all makes sense now, is that's the central locking box. Now my car doesn't have central locking, it's a Bob Basic shitter. The box for the cord, for the immobiliser, is actually further deeper underneath the steering column. There's a smaller one, which I'll picture in the video. Now, because I've sat on this ECU for so long before trying to fit it, in that time, the car with the box on it, which I bought the ECU from, has been squashed. So now, I don't have that available, and I thought, right, fuck it, I'll just get someone out to go and map it. So I booked it, arranged it, paid a deposit. They came out and said, can't map it at the side of the road, this needs to come in. I did tell them what the car was and all the mods on it and everything first, but still, no, that isn't possible. You've got to open the ECU up, it's not through the OBD. The other option that I had is going back to the guy who mapped this ECU. No, not this one. This is the original one off the car. The one that's in the boot, which I bought, he says that he can make it work with my key. But that means I've got to go. The only reason I didn't do that is because I've got to go to Trafford Park and I've got to wait a few hours for it, which I can't really bother doing, but it looks like I ain't got to a choice. And it's a bit cheaper doing that as well. So that is what I'm going to do now. So I'm taking this one off and I'm going to go to the guy who knows what he's doing with ECUs a lot more than I do. Well, that'd be anything, because I don't know fuck all about these. And then he's going to transfer the cording out of mine into the other ECU, or the map out of the other one into this. I don't fucking know, but he's going to make it work, he assures me. So that is the plan now. So I need to take this out and then go and see him. And as we can see, I've got both ECUs off, labelled up so they can't be confused, because what would be really good is if you put the map off that one into that one, or even better, right, it'd be well sick if you put the cording out of that one into that one and delete the cording, what we actually need. That'd be, my dick would pulsate if that happened. So we have got 2 ECUs here. This is the box, which, like I said, that's not the right one, that's for central locking, so I don't need that. But what I do need is, I need the cording for that putting into that, I think, I'm not sure. Anyway, I will go and do that in a couple of days, and we'll see what happens. And if it doesn't work, I'm still going to release the video, just for sheer disappointment. And here we are. I've made the perilous journey to Trafford Park. I've got my Echoes in box, and I'm just, well, it looks like we're in the right place. Yes. And I'm just waiting, because for the first time in my life for anything ever, I'm actually early. So when this guy gets here, who originally mapped this, as I've already said, hopefully we can get this put right, and then we can have some mad BHPs. So let's see what happens. And now we are back. As you can see, this is my original ECU, and by the way it's jumping around, you can tell that it's got some extra, well, some more horses hiding inside it trying to get out. Let's put that down a minute to get it out of the way. So what happened was, I went to a place called DDG Tuning, and I didn't realise at the time when I actually booked in to go there, I didn't realise that I won't say they specialise in these cars, because they do McLarens and everything, so obviously I fit right in. But they are well versed in these cars. In fact, they mapped the one which is that silver Aygo on YouTube, if you look at his channel, and he's made like very impressive results on the rolling road. So this now, what I went to do was I was going to get this one cloned to work with my key, but instead what he's done is he's remapped my ECU, and he's also remapped it for the injectors and all the other stuff, and he's remapped it for the best it can be without being on a rolling road, tuned it to the mods what the car's got. So that should be, well, I reckon it should be quite interesting. So it's not going to be now because, well, I'm not at work now, my car's parked up at work with no ECU on it. When I'm back in work, I will throw the ECU on the shagger and I will let you know how it goes. And now we have reached that point. The DDG tuned ECU is back in the car and I cannot contain my excitement. So now, let's see if it starts. I've not tried it yet, it might actually start and then that will be very disappointing, but it does start, which is a bonus. Right, so it's running, which is preferable. And it's been running for a couple of minutes now, so it's got a bit of warmth into it. I wouldn't say it's fully warm, but it's warm enough. So let's see if it sounds any different. Yes. So that leaves us to check out the more important things. Is, how does it drive? Yes. So I need to go and get some petroleum. So we'll go and do that and then I'll do some comparisons on accelerations and drivability. So I've now put some fuel in it and I'm driving the car. I put the same amount of fuel as I always put in. So by the end of the video I will have an idea of, well, fuel economy. And what can I say so far about driving it? Well, the difference is a normal driving are not night and day. I'm not gonna lie, they're not night and day, but I haven't had a chance to give it a good hiding yet. But the other issue I've got is I haven't driven this car for a few days and I've been driving the BMW, so I'm not getting straight out of it with the other ECU and then back into it with this ECU, which is what the plan of the video was to start with, but that didn't happen for reasons which by now are obvious. So the comparison that I'm going to have is really to do the pull, second and third gear in the same place, which I'm going to go and do. And in the meantime, if I do get a chance, it does feel a little bit more ready to go. In all honesty, it does feel a little bit more ready to go. So I've now done a before and after run, same place, same sort of run for the second and third gear, and to compare, I'm not compared them yet, but I do feel like the car is quicker now, and I'm pretty sure, might prove me wrong when I put them side by side, but I'm pretty sure that the second run will be noticeably quicker, because that's what it feels it is. Going into a bit of detail, what I can say is the remap, right, it is not going to be like a turbo diesel or any turbo car when you're remapping in naturally aspirated petrol. You're going to get the least gains out of any sort of engine setup more usually. So to gain anything noticeable on a 1 litre from a remap isn't bad. Now the noticeable gains that I've got is it seems to be pretty much the same until about 3,500 RPM I'd say, and then it just seems to pull better for longer until, well, it pulls until the red line, it seems to anyway. So it does seem to be definitely better, which I'm pretty confident it is better. I'm just saying it only seems like it in case the footage proves me wrong, which I'm pretty sure it won't. So as far as if it's worth doing, well, like I said, naturally aspirated petrol is always a hot topic for people asking if it's worth to tune them at all. I'd say if you have any sort of from a C43 AMG, that wouldn't have a chance against this now, not with the map on it. Yeah, what we're saying is that is it worth doing? I'd say if you've got any breathing mods, it's worth doing. If you've got an exhaust and an intake, that's pretty much all you need. Yaris injectors as well I've got, which obviously we've seen that before. But if you've got them mods, which a lot of people who have these cars do have, I would say it's worth doing for what it costs. You know, less than a couple of £100 or so. If you haven't got any mods, then I'd say it's not worth doing, because you're only getting about 5 horsepower then, according to the guy who mapped this for me. So if you're in a standard car and you want to get a bit more power without doing any breathing mods, I would say it's probably not worth doing. But if you have got breathing mods, I would say it probably definitely is worth doing. MPG, not found out yet. I'll find that out towards the end of the video, because I've put my 2 going and I want to see what I get. Now, because I'm a child, it probably won't be as good as it could be. because it's got like pops and shit now. And of course, until the novelty of that wears off, I'm doing that at any given opportunity, and that is pure wasted fuel, spunking out the exhaust, just for skills really. So let's see what MPGs I get. I'll put the footage side by side in a second, and we'll see whether it is actually faster or not. And just something I forgot to mention is, it seems to tick over smoother than it ever has done since I've had this car as well. Not sure if that's anything to do with the map or what, but it might be just because the injectors are scaled in. Even though them injectors, it ticked over better than the standard injectors, which would have been scaled in. So I don't quite understand why, but it just does seem to tick over a bit better. And also, just before I put that side-by-side footage, I don't know if this will show up, but from inside the car, when you put your foot down and the engine under load, it does sound more throaty. See from the side by side, we have a clear winner as to which one's in front, which is pretty much what I expected. But I'm just going to try one more thing, because although I'm using a K&N filter, I'm still using the original airbox. So I'm going to just see if running it with effectively what is an open air filter makes any difference now it's mapped. So I'm just going to pull all this off nice and carefully and just remove it. Something like this, and I've just noticed something quite interesting. When I fitted this air filter, it didn't give as good results as a standard filter, and I think I've just realised why. I said I might have put too much oil on it. I put too much oil on it. Now, so now we're running a hashtag no filter, which is about as open as it can be. So let's see how the shitter behaves. The main noticeable difference without the airbox on is the noise. Other than that, round town it doesn't seem to be that much different, but I will do the same motorway pull as what I did before. Last time I tried this, the car was flat round town. It's definitely no flatter, it's definitely no worse. If anything, it might be a little bit more responsive, but I don't think it's much, or if anything. But let's go see, let's go and compare it at some motorway speeds. And as you can clearly see, that was significantly faster, slower, all the same. I don't know, I haven't put them next to each other yet. But what I do know is that I've been studying other people's YouTube channels a little bit, or I've been watching YouTube. What I've noticed that people do is shit like this. And they sort of take a shot of the floor and pan the camera up at what they're doing. And another thing I know is that I've put the airbox back on, because running without an airbox on altogether is probably unadvisable, really. So I want to go and edit that footage and put it in and see how it is. And we have reached the reserve, which gives us 37 miles per gallon, which isn't that far different from what I normally get, but I have been fucking about a bit more than what I normally would be. So I will post in the comments, I'll probably pin a comment or something in a couple of weeks or so when I see how it actually is on fuel in a more fair scenario. The footage of the side-by-side of airbox versus no airbox, there's not much difference, but what I did notice when looking back at it is that the no airbox is quicker, slightly, admittedly, quicker until about 70 miles an hour. And then after about 70 miles an hour, and it's quicker until after the gear change, they both sort of like stay the same, the gear changes are pretty much the same. And after about 70 miles an hour, 75 miles an hour, the airbox seems to sort of come past it, which could be something to do with that forward facing, high velocity massively tuned air intake that we put on. Anyway, now it is time to go and get some petroleums. And of course, it has to be high octane now because the timing's advanced, unlike me. Anyway, that's it for this one pretty much. Like I said, I will comment and put in a pinned comment when I've tried it in a couple of weeks or so. I'll see what the MPG is like in a more first scenario. And other than that, yeah, I think that's it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of shit. Check out on Instagrams if you're interested. Don't know why Instagram's absolutely fucking crap actually, but if you are interested, it's there. And I'll see you next time.